everyone, and welcome to Mental Health Talks on the Yoga Bloody Yoga podcast. I am your host, Esther, and we are meeting with April Iza Fox today from Portland, Oregon. April is a Renaissance woman who specializes in metal yoga, has an incredible Instagram account that really celebrates the metalhead into yoga. It's very cool. She also does goth ballet and so much more. So without further ado, I introduce you, April Iza Fox. Thank you so much for being on Mental Health Talks as our April guest. I love puns, so I wanted to run with the April pun. I hope you don't mind.
Thank you for having me as first.
I've been just an admirer of what you do for a while. Being a part of metal yoga right now is very much booming, which is pretty cool. And I love that we came together through Instagram, but I'm really excited to know more about your story and what inspired you to do metal yoga specifically.
Yeah, well, it kind of had like a couple different things leading into it, right? Like I've always been in the alternative lifestyle and interest. And when I first moved to Portland, I went to a yoga event and somebody was handing out flyers for goth yoga. And so those people became lifelong friends of mine. And after a while, somebody said, "Oh, you like metal music? I think you'd like this band, Yob. You should come to their show with me tonight." And I was like, I've never heard of this band before. So I was practicing yoga in the park in the afternoon, and I put on Yob on my speaker, and I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. Like, I want to do this all of the time. So fell in love with Yob, really fell in love with like the doom and sludge genre. And I would joke with people like, oh yeah, I have really weird hobbies. Like I go to the park and practice yoga to doom metal. And they're like, no, that actually sounds like an amazing hobby. I want to do that with you. Can we do that together? And I had so many people ask me to start doing those classes because I was already a full-time yoga teacher. And I said, well, sure, great. So I started renting a studio about once a month was the comfortable limit there. And when the pandemic hit, I said, well, we're all just sitting around looking for something to do. Let's do this weekly. And it's just continued to grow from that point.
So when did you, so I guess when was that Yob concert that you went to?
Concert was back in spring 2015. I was doing classes by 2016.
So you've been doing metal yoga essentially for 10 years.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I also am a huge fan of that sludgy music and how it goes so well with yoga. So I wish that I knew you 10 years ago so that I could have been following along too. You're so good at the content creation for all of the metal yoga and doom yoga memes and videos. And in my opinion, you've kind of become like the influencer of metal yoga. Like you really hit it right on the head. Like everything that I've been feeling every time I see one of your videos, I'm like, yeah, that's it. So, and I know that a lot of work goes into that. So I just also wanted to kind of open the conversation to you about what it's like to be a content creator and balance yoga teaching and balance your own yoga practice.
Oh man. It's so surreal when I have people say things like that to me, or I'll have people be like, oh yeah, so-and-so who lives in like, Florida just said that they came across your thing. And I was like, oh, I know this girl. Whoa. I think a lot of it honestly has been kind of like a happy accident. Like I decided I wanted to take my online presence more seriously because I wanted to teach in a meaningful way for not only my connection with other people, but also for me. You, I'm sure, as a yoga teacher, understand it is not something that really necessarily comes with a big paycheck, and it's hard to live in the world without your basic needs met. So I think a lot of it was luck. A lot of it was luck with getting into like good habits and getting a lot of reach, and a lot of it definitely is a habit, like do it every day. And I have an assistant, and I would probably die without her. She does a lot to keep me on track. There's a lot of things that we've systemized that she can create from the stuff that I do, which is really cool. Um, but a lot of it is just, it's scary all of the time, to be honest. I'm pretty sure that, if I have a post that blows up, I'm gonna have a whole bunch of people yelling at me for being a white woman and saying that everything I do is terrible and appropriative. But then at the same time, I get so many amazing connections with people who say, holy shit, I never thought that this was for me. And I never thought that I would belong in this culture and in this kind of activity. And, it really opens doors for people to be able to connect in like that kind of way. So it's a blessing and it's a curse. And it's been a really wild ride.
I could only imagine the blowback you get, just because I feel like whenever you're on media, social media specifically, everyone is so ready to attack. I wanted to, you brought it up, so I was like, oh, perfect. It's a good way for me to ask. But like, what calls a lot of us to teach yoga is only to love and serve people. So like, when you have somebody who's basically saying you're doing the opposite, what are the things that you do for your mental health that can kind of combat that, to keep you going, to keep that momentum of doing what you're doing? Because no matter what we do, somebody's going to say something negative, but we need people like you who are at this influential level sharing this culture so that other people don't feel alone, because metal has been an outlet for a lot of people who feel like they're on the outskirts of society or things like that. So essentially, back to the question is, what do you do for your mental health when combating negativity online?
Yeah, it really just comes down to, I'm doing this for the people I'm doing this for, and it's not for everybody. And if it's not for you, like, that's kind of okay. Like, that's all right. I can't possibly be everything to everyone. I cannot offer, the yoga that's perfect for every single human being in the world. It doesn't work that way. It has been a lot of self-talk, a lot of talking to my partner about things. This poor man hears me vent and cry and watches, I'll turn purple, like red, frustrated sometimes with just people say nasty things. And it's like, listen, do not argue with people on the internet. That is the biggest piece of advice I can get. Like, I'm sorry, it just does not matter. It is not an effective means of communication to have a discussion on the internet. There is no depth to it. There is no context. There is no like local context. You miss so much. I've had plenty of times where I like thought I was getting into a fight with someone and they were being an asshole to me, and it turns out they were just confused and asking questions poorly. One of my big recurring Dharma talks is, sometimes you're the asshole. It happens to me all the time. I'm just, focusing on the things that you can have an impact on is an important part of managing this, and focusing on the things that I do have control over and the things that I can like impact and influence, which is not the opinion of a stranger on the internet, but it probably is a moment of connection with somebody who has similar viewpoints to me.
That is wise. Because I've been the asshole in my own head many times, and it's one of the reasons why I try not to put my face on the internet when it has yoga involved, because I'm such a chicken. But I think, for those listening, I'm sure that there's going to be people who are influencers themselves, and that's a really good strategy. And like, you don't need to always have that communication with somebody, because like you said, there's no context, and to protect yourself is sometimes just talking with your partner, doing what you got to do so that you don't exacerbate a situation or anything like that. Do you feel you ever have anything close to that happening in person? Because I personally have never come across anyone who's like, metal yoga is bad, at any studio that I've been to.
I haven't as much in person. I have a lot of people not understand it, but also I live in Portland, Oregon, so the willingness that people have to at least be inquisitive rather than judgmental is usually pretty broad. So I've got that. Yeah, I don't get a lot of in-person flack. A lot of it is on the internet, and I think that that's part of the nature of the beast is the anonymity and the fact that you can just sit there and scroll and type in 50 characters that honestly probably mean nothing to the commenter. And then we're gonna like sit here and take it all like super personally, you know?
Yeah, I've been there. I had somebody uh on a post that was like a picture of one of our sold out classes here in Long Beach be like, this is the reason why Long Beach is going down the shitter and like da 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 da. And I was like, do I reply? I don't think I should. Like it was so funny. Yeah, he just needed to get it out, I think. And that was okay. I'm like, you here you can vent. Like I hid his comment. I just hid it. I'm like, you go away. So you've been teaching yoga. Well, the Yob concert was 10 years ago. So like the metal yoga spark. But how long have you been actually teaching yoga?
It's been 12 years. So I'd been a little bit when I started it. Yeah.
Did you do your certification through a studio in Oregon or?
No, actually, I grew up just outside of Detroit and I started taking yoga classes while I was in college. I trained to be a professional dancer, like a ballerina contemporary dancer, and it was real hard, like on my mental health specifically. And I needed to do something to stay in shape during college, and I couldn't get to a dance studio for adults, so I started taking yoga classes and I really fell in love with yoga. It was like my second class, and I was trying to get into the splits, and my body wasn't cooperating. And the teacher comes down next to me, and she's like, "It doesn't have to be perfect every time." And I was like, "What? What are you talking about? Nobody's ever said those words to me in my entire life. My entire existence revolves around perfection. Duplicate everything that you've done with your body." And I was like, "Shit, really? Okay, I'm in. I'm in. I'm down. Sign me up, man." And my partner at the time wanted to climb mountains, and we decided to move to Oregon. And I said, "Well, I guess I'll just quit my job and completely start my life over again." So I did my training out there and showed up here, and yeah, everything all came together.
I was going to say the dance background because I am very excited about your goth ballet classes. That's so cool. I can you tell me a little bit about that?
So I've just always loved teaching movement. I wanted to be a dance teacher more than I wanted to be a performer. And just being able to share the joy of movement with people is such a gift because especially for people who don't like get all caught up in it, right? Like the professional have to do everything perfectly thing. But like just it's so fun to move and we don't get enough of that, right? Like we sit and we are on our phones and so I love to share movement with people. And I had a ballet teacher when she's in Michigan. Her name's Christina Camuller, and she teaches ballet for adults. That is class, and it's hard, and it's drills, and it's exercises, but she intersperses choreography and expressive, like artistic movement into every single class. And she's legendary. If anybody listening to this is a ballet dancer and ever goes to Southeastern Michigan, please look up Christina Camuller's adult ballet. It's something else. And I've always wanted to teach classes. And I've always really respected that. You know, like she's like, listen, we are going to get better, but I'll be damned if I'm gonna get bored at this. So she's like 70 now, I think, and you know, just a killer. So I said, well, what if I make ballet classes like that? And you know, I was starting to get the class going again, and people said, "Oh, are you going to do a metal ballet class?" I'm like, "I don't know about that, but what if?" I don't think that I can wrap my brain around like Gojira, but
Totally. You could just have a for metal ballet. Gosh, that song, I was just listening to it. Is it from Swan Lake? I don't know if you'll know this, but it's the like Song of the Mountain King. Are you familiar with that one? Is that from Swan Lake? Do you know?
if we're thinking about the same, like dun, 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 dun,
Yeah,
dun,
yeah, yeah.
dun. In the Hall of the Mountain King is like supposed to be its own like individual piece. It's but no, it was its own composition. It doesn't it's not
Oh,
from
okay.
Tchaikovsky.
Because I'd say that would be the closest thing to a metal ballet thing I could ever think of is that one song. But it could be that it's fresh in my head too, because I was just listening to it yesterday. It's pretty fun. If you ever want to lose your mind for 2 minutes, the end. Well, actually, no. You lose your mind for about 30 seconds at the end. The rest is pretty well. So you're a yoga teacher, well, yoga instructor. I know yoga teacher sounds not as fancy, but yoga instructor. You are a metal alt yogi. What would you call yourself? A metal yoga influencer or an alt yoga influencer if you could choose?
I feel like I'm just the blue-haired lady in the front of the room. Or I don't know. I guess yeah, metal, alt, yoga person.
And so your assistant, does she help you with editing videos and stuff so that you can come up with like the actual flows and demos that you're doing and then you give it to what does your assistant do for you?
She helps me with a lot of things. She does a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. Like if I ever need something that I want to change on the website or with merch or something or with design, I just have to remember that I have somebody for that. And so I ask her and she helps me like organize, edit newsletters and things. There's a couple video projects, like the on-demand videos that I do on my website. She edits the music into them and she'll edit out any issues where I'll just like stop and say, oh shit, I don't know what's going on. Hold on a second. Or the dogs bark and she fixes that. There's a couple of videos that I put out like routinely that are like kind of more ad stuff that she cultivates for me. So it kind of keeps me from having to look at the same thing over and over again, which is incredible. I want an assistant for everything.
I think it's really cool to hear, what it's like. And I mean, it's an amazing thing that you can bring someone into this team. It's like, oh, cool. Like you've made it to a point where you can hire someone and like provide a job for someone else, which I think is very cool in the madness of this social media world we live in.
It's nice to have an extra brain on things too. Like she's good at finding things that are happening that help keep me motivated and inspired with content because every day is fine for like a month and I'm like 6, 7, 8 months into every day. Like, what am I doing today? What are we doing here? Who's hiding this?
And that leads me to my other question is what does your week look like? And would you say that your April kind of rocks. Is that right? The April kind of rocks, right?
Yeah, April kinda.
Is that like your main business, or do you also do something else on the side?
I only teach dance and movement classes. I run a nonprofit dance organization, and that is a nonprofit venture. So everything I do is focused around yoga, at least to make any money, and the goth ballet classes. But um, yeah, I film every week. I spend about an hour doing a class, like crafting it and filming it and doing, whether it's more dynamic, challenging vinyasa style stuff or whether it's like slower, gentler practice and try to change up the length of the videos, length of the practice and the style and everything. So I do that every week. I try to spend at least an hour or so just filming any kind of content that I imagine that I can use on social media. So sometimes I'll plan videos and sometimes I'll just like film myself moving for a bit and hope I can make something work. And a lot of emails. I'm really big on email. Like I'm bad at Instagram DMs to be honest. But my email inbox is like where I stay organized and I talk to my students and my followers and my people as much as I can because I think like I don't want to do this just because I want to be like on Instagram. I want to do this because I want to make reasonable, meaningful connections with people. So, especially like when you're teaching online, for a long time, I really hated it because I was like, well, I'm just this talking head on this screen and everybody else turns their cameras off and I can't really interact with them. So, like initiating conversations with my people has been a big part of making the work more enjoyable for me. And I think hopefully more enjoyable and meaningful for them too.
Your heart is that teaching heart, so you're still coming to your and you said it yourself, you're like, I'm not an influencer, I'm just an online presence, I have blue hair. Like, I'm on the screen, but the work is what's behind the camera, or not behind the camera, that is the most important. But the influential side is just the window in to the actual healing journey of yoga and movement, which is what this podcast is all about, is just talking about, how people stay healthy and how they want to bring music into that. So this is my fun part of the podcast. Not like you weren't having any fun yet. This is my favorite part, is when I ask you, what band do you think is the most metal?
Oh, but but then what is metal? And like, are you like, if you ask this question to somebody who's really into like really intense, like, Finnish death metal, they're gonna have a very different answer from me. They probably will not know the bands that I love.
Well, that's the whole point, is it. I mean, I asked my dad and he's like, Judas Priest immediately. And I'm like, yeah, but I want to know what April thinks is the most metal band. So even if I have no idea who they are, just like, what first band that you're like, that's metal. That's what I want to know.
Can I talk my way through this, because I don't like picking favorites. I'm more of like I'm into the forest rather than the trees kind of person.
Okay, you could give me the forest. That's okay.
Yeah. Well, my forest, like my very first favorite band was Black Sabbath. Like, I got into my dad's CDs as a kid and I was like, this is great. There's some story about, apparently I'm in first grade and like, I think it was a teacher or somebody asked me what my favorite my favorite song is. And I said, War Pigs. But yeah, I would definitely say that you just bands like Sun and Yob and like Earth and Dope Smoker, Dale's Bong. Maybe it's Yob. Maybe Yob is like the most quintessential metal for me in my life, right?
And nobody can argue, because it's your metal. Who is the most metal to April? It's Yob. Okay.
Metal, yeah, probably that's it. Yeah, I'm definitely mostly into like slower, more melodic kind of music, especially to listen to on my own. Like, going to a show is different, but yeah.
And if you can explain the feeling that they give you to someone who's never heard, sludgy, doomy metal before, like, and you don't have to describe the music itself, but like, you being like, to April, they're it. Like, what do they bring to you? Because it's a positive thing. Like, that's why we listen to it. So like, how do they make you feel? That's what I'm asking.
I think I'm going to answer this a little bit differently. You can ask me for a follow-up on this if you want to, or go at it again. But when people ask me what is doom metal, this is what I say. Okay, so you're thinking metal music and you're imagining like, right? Doom metal is, and that's what it's like. Okay, so I am going to answer your actual question now then. To me, like, good doom heavy sludge movement is the closest thing that I can imagine. It's like such a close step away from the sound of Om. It's heavy and it's slow. Like, my favorite doom is like 4 notes, 20 minutes. It just goes on forever. Like a good Om. I like that resonant like bit of like, oh, there's like something in here that I feel really connected to. A lot of doom and sludge and stoner musicians are also very into Eastern philosophy and yoga and meditation, and it shows up a lot in the music that they make.
It really does. And I'm hoping eventually we'll see if the podcast gets there, but I'd love to get to start interviewing those types of bands and being like, let's talk about all this cool stuff that we've been experiencing and hear how you found it, because gosh, I'm excited by so much that I am not an expert in anything, but I love to learn and listen. So I'm like, now we can hopefully get to talk about, like, I've learned so much just from your journey too of, you know, navigating movement and a, an internet platform and how to do that. Like, it's been really cool to see into your world on the front side, but I wanted to also ask you too, if you're comfortable answering, like, what has helped you with your mental health and physical health throughout challenging times in your life, that if you could encourage others to try, or just to, hear someone's perspective, like, what has helped you through hard times, whether it be mental or physical?
I really, really struggled with my mental health, particularly in adolescence. Like, I had some really dark periods, and it was my movement practices that helped. Like, I know I felt joy pretty much only when I was dancing. So I would just do it all the time. That's how I got into that. And I say I really started doing yoga in college, but I did it a little bit on VHS tapes of Rodney Yee during a modern dance class in high school, because Mondays was yoga day. She just decided she was, sick of us on Mondays, or not ready for us, I guess. And it was nice. Like, I was like, oh, there's this time where it's okay for me to just be still. And I think, like, Midwestern Protestant upbringing in the late 90s was not necessarily conducive to that. And learning to practice, like, the full practice of yoga, right? Like, not just like having like excellent chaturanga, but like really practicing yoga, which is being present in the moment and being reflective and watching things change and adapt over time, and learning to practice contentment, which is in santosha, which is contentment, and just like, okay, like, there's going to be a wave. Do I freak out with the wave, or do I ride that wave? And intentionally watching my perspective. And it's like, I can either have a shitty time with my insane life, or I can try to have a good time with my insane life. And seems like it's always going to be insane. I am an elder millennial. I've seen like 5 catastrophic life events so far. It's just gonna be like this. Perspective is huge. And choosing to make little shifts. One of my teachers, she says, find a better feeling thought. And if you're feeling like shit, it is inauthentic and ineffective to start saying, oh, but I feel fine. Because you don't. That's stupid. That's not going to help anything. That's not what I mean when I say a perspective shift. I mean, if you're feeling a certain way, look for something that is true, has to be true. And it's just a small shift towards the way that you want to feel. So like, she'll say, like, listen, if you're feeling super, super depressed, it's actually probably way better to feel angry than depressed, because angry, it gives you like a sense of purpose, right? And then from anger, you can feel like maybe a little focus and malice because you figured out something to do with it. And then you feel a sense of accomplishment, and you start to feel a sense of change. And then you go into this place where you're like, oh, I actually do have some control over the way that I'm navigating circumstances in my life, right? So there's an evolution in it. And you are not your feelings. You are not your thoughts.
Yeah.
Everything's temporary. Everything's temporary. Everything. And people are like, except for your tattoos. I'm like, no, I'm gonna rot one day, to be honest. I'll either rot or burn. Like, this flesh suit is also not temporary and is not permanent. Yeah, it's also temporary.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. It's like, why are we wasting time worrying about things that really aren't worth it? And were you saying one of your teachers had said, rather than being happy when you're actually feeling down, was that a yoga teacher that was sharing that with you, or did I mishear?
No, well, it's a teacher, a spiritual teacher, a person I follow. Just making some little shift, right? Some shift in your perspective, and it snowballs. All of those shifts snowball. You know, if you wake up every day and say, "Ah, my life is shit," I have news for you. That's- Let me say that way.
Yeah, they say you are what you say you are, there's so many different, spiritual perspectives and religious perspectives about all of our futures, but that teaching of just be okay with where you're at and say positive thinking. And have you experienced in your teaching methodology that you gravitate to spiritual teaching as well as movement, or more just movement? I'm curious for you in your teaching methodology if you find that sharing a spiritual message is important to you, or
I think my specific goal with it is that if you are just doing yoga movements, it's calisthenics. And so, like, real yoga has like focus on breath work, it has focus on intention, it embodies the philosophy. My classes just about always, I mean, we always have some sort of breath work and we chant Om and we have like intention and we'll use mudras, bandhas, pranayama, kind of blending that in there. And my intention is more to make it a full spectrum experience. Like it's not just stretching your hamstrings, which is a beneficial, useful practice, but kind of like marrying the two ideas. And I'm not saying that like, oh, it's a bad yoga class if you're just there to stretch your hamstrings, because movement is also a tool. Like the people say, oh, there's so much more to yoga than asana, but like there are very few people who are going to gather together and like just stare at one grain on the floor and and like read a book and nobody talks about it to each other and then they just walk out. Like what is the benefit of that experience in community, right? Like community is a powerful thing for your mental health, for the well-being of the group as a whole. And so we use the asana because it's fun, and again, I get to choose whether or not I'm going to enjoy my ride on this insane rock hurtling through the sky. So we can use it as a tool. Right. Like, so if we have like a focus and an intention, like generally I will craft the movement to support that and like reflect upon the ideas that we brought about in practice. And also I will say this, like I think if you are intending and thinking that the only way that you can offer something of value to your students spiritually or philosophy is because you have it all figured out, if you feel like you have it all figured out, I think that's the moment in which I don't want to listen to you. I think your perfect imperfection and your humanity is the thing that your students do want to hear. Like a lot of times that's just like a little anecdote of like, well, not enlightened yet. I just did this stupid thing the other day.
oh yeah, I just had that happen yesterday where I was like in the middle of a class and was like, well, everybody, I'm taking you from child's pose back to standing up and placing your leg behind you because I forgot a side. They were like, okay. But I'm like, we gotta even it out. That's what we gotta do. But yeah, you're right. It's part of a teacher is understanding the humility of sharing mistakes, and yeah, it's so true. Just being able to be okay with yourself enough to be like, yep, I'm an imperfect being, and the dangerous ones are who say they're perfect because usually they have a lot of baggage trailing them, as we've many times seen before. So we talked about what band you thought was the most metal. So let me do one more metal question for you before we end. Is what is a band you've discovered this year, so 2026, in the past few months, that has super inspired you? Metal or not, just a newer band. Doesn't have to be they're new, but who you discovered this year.
I think this technically was probably at the end of 2025, but that feels very close to me still. So, one thing that I discovered that I had no idea existed was this band called Dr. Colossus, and they're apparently a Simpsons themed doom metal band from Australia. They're hilarious, but also like excellent heavy riffs, and you should totally go check them out. Yeah, somebody popped up on my Instagram and they were like, I dare you to play Stupid Sexy Flanders by Dr. Colossus. And I turned the song on and it was a banger. And I was like, well, I guess I'm doing this now. It became my like earworm for the next month or so. Another band that I discovered very recently, their name is Moon, and they do like a whole bunch of weird, funky whatnot. I can send you their thing so that it'll be easier to find them because it's hard without it. They sent me their demo. They're like, oh, we're like a brand new band from Kentucky, just a duo, and I wonder if you're interested in our music and if you like it, if you want to post it. If not, thank you for even checking us out. I get a lot of those messages. I always do. I will always, I'll listen to your stuff. I'll share it. I'll share it even if I don't like it, honestly, because I just want to support you. And I think that what you're doing is great. My opinion is not really that important. But I did really like them and I put them up in my playlist, and they messaged me afterwards, the other guy in the band, and he's like, holy shit, I can't believe that you just shared our music. I've been doing your yoga videos online for years, and that's why I wanted to start making this music. I was like, stop. No way. Oh my god, also you guys are really great. I'm excited and I can't stop sharing this. So
that is
cool.
what it's all about, right? That is so cool. Oh, I love that. And yeah, I mean, to all the haters out there, no, just kidding. But to anybody who, doesn't see the joy and the beauty in metal and the community that surrounds it, it's like, man, you are missing out. Because I've never met more community-based people in my life. It's so cool to hear that story. So thank you for sharing that, because that's what it's all about. It's just supporting each other and being honest too. Like, I like what you said about you'll listen and you'll tell them what you think. And I think there's something dangerous about always telling people what they want to hear. So also being honest, like, thank you, but this, this isn't really my style, is okay. Also, I hope nobody gets mad at me for saying that, but it's so cool to hear that what the work you have been doing has been inspiring people to make music. Like, isn't that cool? I think that's amazing. One final question for you is, as an alt individual, is there anything that you think is kind of fun that like someone wouldn't know about you by looking at you? Like the ballet thing we've talked about, so we can't use that as an example. But something, it could be silly, it could be deep, but like as someone who's an as someone who likes alt black, cool hair, tattoos, you know, what's a fun thing that's maybe someone wouldn't guess about you?
I have two chihuahuas and they have fantastic outfits all of the time. He's not very athletic, so we go for hikes as a family and he goes in a backpack on my back.
Do you like anything that's pink? No, just joking.
I mean, pink is fine. So like the joke about like the golden retriever boyfriend and the goth girlfriend. I'm both, actually. He looks like the golden retriever. I'm just both. I am the golden retriever and the goth girl.
I love that. That is so cute. Yeah, I mean, do you do you think he looks like? What do you mean he looks like a golden retriever? Does he not wear black?
He's not wear black. No, I mean occasionally he'll wear so we have t-shirts for the classes and he'll wear my t-shirts and there's a couple band t-shirts that he has from going to shows, but other than that he wears like polo shirts and like flowered button-ups, chinos.
That's amazing. Hey, you know what? That's the true sign of a true partner is it's not always about looking the same. It's about who's underneath. And that is what really is in my opinion, the most important part is that internal connection, because you can change your looks your whole life. If you're dating the looks, then you're gonna have a short term most of the time. Sorry, I keep saying one more question, but do you have time for one more question?
Yeah.
Do you have any dreams for the next year?
I don't really. Like, I have a vague intention that I would like to keep growing. Like, I just want to keep reaching more people and, having like good energy and good amounts of people in my classes. I don't often get into a lot of like dreams and goals because I I'm having a good time. I am here. And I don't tend to get to extrapolate too much out to whatever else might be. I'm very much a be here now kind of person, and honestly, I'm amazed and humbled and excited at where I'm currently at and where this project is currently at. So that said, please listen to this podcast and come join our classes and hang out with us all the time. I'd love to have you. We're definitely growing, but I'm starstruck to be where I'm standing. So whatever else happens is kind of just a bonus.
That's amazing. That's a great place to be. There's nothing wrong with that. That means that, you've been in a wellness field and doing what you love for over 10 years. So the fact that you're at a place where you're like, I'm good. What it's about. So I'm so happy for you to hear that. That's amazing. And it's very inspiring too. So April, if you want to tell people where to find you, and locally and virtually, so.
Okay, yeah, well, you can always follow my Instagram, April Kinda Rocks. My website for my yoga stuff is Yoga Kinda Rocks, and you will find there lots of community resources for classes and online things and on-demand classes that I do. I teach a lot of doom metal yoga. Obviously, I teach some vinyasa and flow classes at public studios in Portland, primarily at the People's Yoga, which is an excellent community resource here, really focused on, again, the people over just being like a corporate gig. So huge shout out to the People's Yoga. You can, like I said, do on-demand videos on the site. I have a beginners program, so a series of some slightly shorter videos that help you just to pause and digest and break down a lot of the basics of practice, because I think a lot of people, even if I say things are very beginner friendly, they're kind of scared not to have something to prepare them for fuller practice. So I created that. I do retreats and I travel often to other places. I'm going to the Bay Area, Oakland in June, and that'll be at the Spire of the Church, and I'm going to New York in October probably. That's like 99% sure, at Meltdown in Newburgh, New York. And you can, come hang out in Portland. And if you don't want to come to Portland, you should come hang out with me online, because I apparently never put my phone and my email away. So,
well, April, thank you. And I hopefully will see you in person one day once I get my butt up to Oregon. We have friends out there, so I'd love to come take one of your monthly classes. And I really appreciate your time, and it's been so fun to talk to you. And who knows, maybe we'll talk again next April, and see how you're doing.
fair enough.
Thank you all so much for tuning in to Mental Health Talks on Yoga Bloody Yoga podcast. We appreciate all of you listening. If you'd like to support the podcast and what we do, you can hit follow, rate the episodes, rate the podcast, donate if you feel so inclined. All of your donations mean so much, and they go towards bringing you more content, more higher quality audio, and more entertainment. So really, really appreciate everybody listening, and thank you for joining us on this journey. It's an exciting time. It's the very beginning, and I can't wait to see what else happens in our future. Thank you.